Right, can we start with the salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. God, I didn't even hear an answer. Thank you. It's okay, doesn't matter. So we're looking at journaling the Qur'an, and you all know the introduction to journaling. You have your Qur'an city colors of the buildings, which inshallah we will look at some point. We did the Qur'an city map last week, and I went over most of this. But what we're going to do today is, I've been telling you for quite a while that all the 114 surah dovetail onto each other. And I needed to show this to you, like physically, how they dovetail. Because I can't do all 114, because I don't think Yasmin's going to allow me to be here till the end of the night. I thought I'd pick the last 10. Now, the last 10, in essence, are the answer of the dua of Ibrahim. Now, this is just an extra, did you know? So if you look at ayah 126 of surah number 2, so there's Ibrahim doing a dua. رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا بَلَدًا آمِنًا وَارْزُقْ أَهْلَهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ مَنْ آمَنَ مِنْهُمْ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. He asks for that. Then he also asks Allah in ayah 129, رَبَّنَا وَبَعْثْ فِيهِمْ رَسُولًا مِّنْهُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, which the answer comes in Surah Al-Jumu'ah. But in essence, Ibrahim asks for 4 P's, as I call them. And every human being in life wants the 4 P's. One is protection, which is basically peace. You also want prosperity, and he's asked for prosperity here, or provision. Then you ask for guidance, and he asked for a prophet to be raised. And you also ask for a legacy or progeny. And these are the 4 P's that he asked for. This is just an extra bit there. But what we're going to start off is surah number 105, which is Surah Al-Feel. You've also got stickers, I think. And at the end, hopefully, I will put them all together for you. I'm going to try really hard to go through this. And you will excuse me if I go a little bit fast, because I need to make sure you've got them all. So 105 is Surah Al-Feel, right? And we've got quite a bit here. I'm going to turn towards it in my Quran. So you start off by saying, let me tell you a little bit of history of Surah Al-Feel and how it was revealed. First of all, you need to know that it started off in Sabah, in Yemen. So Sabah is surah number 34, okay? Now, if you find in Sabah, this was the main port in Yemen that had trade everywhere, okay? But what happened was these people got a little bit arrogant. And if you read Surah Al-Sabah, you will find that Allah destroys the town with a flood, okay? So the whole town is destroyed. People are refugees. Many of them move. The tribe of Aus and Khazraj moved to Yathrib, which is today Medina, who then become the Ansar later on. And others moved to Makkah. So you find, there's quite a movement of people going on. Now, at that time, you have the Prophet's ancestors. You have Qusi. I know this is a bit of historical stuff. And Qusi is known as Mujamma. People, he put people together. Okay. So Qusi had a son called Abd Manaf. Abd Manaf had Hashim, Muttalib, Abdul Shams, and Nawfal. Basically, these people, in particular, if you look at it, Hashim, who is, Banu Hashim is known as the Prophet's grandfather, he realized that there is a vacuum in trade because Yemen is now destroyed. So now there's a vacuum. So what he did was he got all the tribes together and he created an agreement with them. And the agreement was that Makkah would become the trading center. So instead of Sana'a, as in Yemen or Sabah, Makkah became the trading center. And they did that, and they were known as Ashabul Ilaf. Ilaf actually means a united agreement, and you'll see that word come in a lot, okay? So Hashim, Prophet's grandfather, puts them all together, and Makkah becomes a trading center. Now, Makkah becomes a trading center. The people who are left in Yemen, it's really a horrible place. You find that the Christians are persecuted there. When the Christians are persecuted there, the people in Ethiopia who are Christians, there's a Christian king, got pretty angry. So he sends an army to Yemen to sort of invade it. And when we invaded it, the head of the army was Abraha. And when Abraha comes, the army actually gets rid of everybody who was persecuting Christians, and Abraha gets in charge of Yemen. So now you've got Abraha in charge of Yemen, right? And Abraha looks at this and he says, I'm going to make Yemen great again. Does that sound familiar to you? He's going to make Yemen great again. So now what Abraha does, he says, now everybody's going to Makkah. And everybody's looking at this little cube in Makkah. I mean, for God's sake, it's a barren land. We've got so much going for us. So he builds the biggest church ever. Okay, so a massive church, he builds it. And when he builds this massive church, I think the book that I sent you had there was a little bit of information in it about Yemen. And he calls it Al-Quraysh. So it's got chandeliers, carpets, everything. But even then, people are going to Makkah. You know, regardless of the fact, if you told me just now, do you want to go to Yemen or do you want to go to Makkah? Even today, we will go to Makkah. And that's exactly what happened then. Abraha got really angry. Not only did he because he said, I'm going to destroy the Kaaba. When the Arabs heard it, they went to Yemen and they desecrated the mosque. Now, very many ahadith. Some said they desecrated it by using it like a toilet. Some said they put graffiti of it. Whatever the case, they desecrated the Al-Quraysh, that church. Now, this made Abraha even more angry. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to get the help from Ethiopia and I'm going to go and destroy the Kaaba. Have you got the thing for feel now? Okay. So he comes, and from Ethiopia, he gets an elephant. Nobody had seen an elephant before, and 20,000 soldiers. And they marched towards Makkah. Now, when they march towards Makkah and they come towards Makkah, the soldiers there are stealing Abdul Muttalib's camels. And Abdul Muttalib tells them, look, we can never beat this army. It's 20,000. You can't beat it. So why don't you go and hide in the hills? So Makkah was evacuated, everybody in the hills, and Abdul Muttalib goes to Abraha and said, I need to talk to you. It was very nice to him. They had a lovely conversation. And he said, look, my only reason to come here is to destroy the Kaaba because I want people to come to Yemen. So Abdul Muttalib says, I'm not worried about that. I want my camels back. He said, what's wrong with you? What sort of leader are you? You're not worried about the Kaaba? You're worried about your camels? He said, and this is a famous phrase, I am the owner of my camels. The owner of the Kaaba will look after it himself. And this is the background history of Surah Al-Feel. All right, are you good with that? Right, let's go into the surah. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil feel. Do you not see how your Rabb dealt with ashab al-feel? Now, in the Qur'an or anywhere in Arabic, when you say ashab of someone, they are lower than that. You say ashab al-Muhammad, yeah? Sahaba. They'll always be lower than the person whose ashab they are. So here Allah is telling them that those people were lower than the elephant. Can you see that? Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil feel. Now what did Allah do? Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. What was their strategy? Kayd is a plan. Their plan was to destroy the Kaaba. And he says, did you not see? Their plan was just nothing. So the first part of the plan being nothing, confusion, was when Abdul Muttalib says, you know what, I don't worry about the house, it belongs to somebody else. And that puts fear into him. Okay. And he says, وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. And Allah sent down upon them. Now in Arabic, tayr is bird. Tuyur is birds. That's plural. Tayr is something that was flying. Ababil is, I don't know, could be flying creatures. Something that flew doesn't necessarily have to be birds. It could be absolutely anything. So something was sent in the skies that was flying. Drones, I don't know. Whatever. There was something there. And tarmihim. Okay, rami is to hit. And these drones dropped something. What did they drop? Bihijaratin. They dropped rocks. Min sijil, made out of baked clay. So there's this whole army and the elephant. They're going towards the Kaaba, and suddenly from the top is dropping all these baked clay stuff. Okay, I've actually rushed through this quite quickly. When we do this surah, as in when we come to it later on, we'll do it in detail. فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَسْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. And it felt like, whether it was a virus, like COVID, whether it was, whatever it was, they just fell. They just dropped dead. Not only did they drop dead, their bodies immediately disintegrated. So it looked like it was just a flat piece of people lying down. So you can just imagine what sort of thing that was. Okay? Now they went to destroy the Kaaba. Now this is what happened. Are you good with that? I'm going to go through, like I said, I'm going to dovetail it. Now I'd like you to listen to me here when I say that. When the elephant, now in our heads, in our heads, sometimes we make something large projections. Something that's tiny, we make it so big. So when those large projections, like those elephants, in our heads, come to attack you, because in your heart is your Kaaba, you know that, the central bit. When they come to attack you, make sure you deal with the attackers with ababil of Asma'ul Husna. Got it? You got that? So when you think Surah Al-Feel, think of the things that you make so big in your head that they've come to attack your heart. If you want to get rid of it, then the ababil you use is Asma'ul Husna. Okay, now we're going to go into each one in a minute. Now I'll dovetail them on and off. Surah Al-Quraysh. So Surah Al-Quraysh and Surah Al-Feel are read sort of one after the other. Okay? So let's look at Surah Al-Quraysh. Surah Al-Quraysh, the focus is literally divine protection and sustenance comes from Allah. Okay? Nobody else. Nobody can give you any protection or any whatever. The word Quraysh comes from taqarrush. Taqarrush actually means those who gather together from different places or people who work really, really hard. Now their trade was continuous. So the way they worked was they would go to Yemen in the south and they would go to Syria in the north. Okay, that's how they did their trade. So summer they would go to the south and winter they would go to winter Yemen and summer to Syria. Now in Yemen they would do coffee, gold and silver. Why? Because Makkah was a barren land. You had to trade. Nothing grew there, nothing happened. And in Syria they did luxury goods, they did olive oil, they did woodcraft, they did horses, all the rest of it. So these caravans continued. Okay. So now Allah says, Li-ilafi Quraysh. Do you remember I said Ashabul Ilaf? The United Protection Agreement. So here Allah says, for the protection of those people who lived in a barren land, worked really hard at trading is summer and winter. What does he say? He said, Ilafihim. He will protect them. He will be kind to them. He will look after them. Now, rihla is a journey where you carry goods. So he will protect them when they go on their journeys, shita and safe. Any idea what shita is? Winter and summer. He will protect them. Why will he protect them? This is talking about the Quraysh. Why? Because فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ. Submit to the Rabb of the house. They looked after the house. They looked after the Kaaba. Whatever way they did it, they looked after it. So he says, even for the fact that they look after it, we will look after them in summer and winter. Now he's telling you and me in a minute. He says, الَّذِي أَطْعَمَهُم مِّن جُوعٍ. He's the one who feeds them when they're hungry, and he will look after them when they are scared. Okay? So in essence he's saying, if you submit to the house, if you submit to the Rabb of the house, you will never be hungry, and you will always have protection and always have rizq. Okay? Let's go back to your 10 that I talked about. So remember what I said of Surah Al-Feel? When the elephant of projections gets to your heart, when you're really worried and nothing happens, these big, small things become big things, what do you hit them with? The ababil of Asma'ul Husna. Now see how it dovetails on it. Once you do that, he will provide you food and security as long as you honor him in all seasons of life, whether it's summer or it's winter. Are you good? The only reason we have problems within our hearts is because of protection and rizq. We want to be protected and we want to have rizq. And rizq, I mean spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. Okay, I'm going to go through each one of them as we go along and try and dovetail them. Okay, Surah Al-Maa'un. Ma'un literally means something that is so insignificant that if you gave it away, you wouldn't even think about it. When I talk to children, and those are the people that I talk to more than anything else, I tell them Ma'un is the paper in which fish and chips is wrapped. These days they don't even put it in newspaper, they put it in white paper. Have you ever had fish and chips? And they put in that white paper. Now that white paper doesn't mean anything to you, does it? Yet, Ma'un means people who will not even give that away. In Arabic, Ma'un is an empty plate. Literally an empty plate. These days in Stanmore, they charge you for a plate. Sorry. Okay. That's Ma'un. Okay. So Ma'un is about one who denies divine guidance and accountability. You know, the Quraysh accepted Allah. If you look at other ayahs of the Qur'an, you would say, who made the earth? They would say Allah. But they didn't want to be dictated by Allah. And they didn't want to be accountable. Okay? So we will believe as long as we can do what we want. All right, let's see what happens. So Allah says, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Have you seen those people, kidhb is to lie, who lie about the deen? Deen is literally comes from dain, a debt. It's what you have exchanged your life for and what you will get back. That's basically what deen is about. Maliki yawmiddin. What did I do with my life? What did I exchange it for? And what am I get back? Basically, it's accountability. So, have you seen those people who lie about accountability? This is what they do. Now, this is their characteristic. Because you can't otherwise know. And it's looking at oneself. Is this what I do? فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمِ. The first thing they will do is anybody who doesn't have any shelter, they will reject that person. Anybody who doesn't have a social standing, they will say, don't want to know you. That's their first thing. That's their characteristic. And you have to look at yourself first. وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَىٰ طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. It doesn't say they don't give food to the miskin. It says they don't encourage people, they don't motivate people to feed those who are miskin. You know, there's a difference between fakir and miskin, and I talked about it. Faqr is even somebody who will still ask. Miskin doesn't even ask, given up asking. Just don't know what to do. Just stuck. So, what was the first characteristic? Reject those without social standing. Second characteristic, do not motivate people to feed others. Okay, third characteristics. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ. So the third characteristic of these people are they only pray either to be seen or maybe because they think they have to. There's no concentration in prayer. Okay, so the prayer is not connecting to divinity. It's just a cardiovascular exercise. Get enough steps on my phone because I move up and down. Or it's a hollow salah. I keep on saying to children, I'm not saying it to you, I say it to myself first. If you don't do anything in Ramadan, you don't do anything in Laylatul Qadr, it's okay. Just learn what you're saying in salah. That's enough. More than enough. Okay? So these are the three characteristics. Now there's a fourth characteristic. وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. They will throw it away, but they will not give it to you. Yamna'u, mana'a is to refuse. Ma'un is that smallest thing. Just remember the wrapper in which fish and chips comes. They won't even give you that. They'll say, I can make use of it. They'll fold it and keep it, go home and put it in the bin. Are you good? Okay, let's start again. 4 characteristics. 1, reject those without social standing. 2, won't encourage feeding. We got that inside. 3, prayer is hollow. And 4, smallest act of kindness they cannot do. Okay, back to our dovetailing. So Surah Al-Quraysh said he will provide food, and so Surah Al-Maa'un is a word of caution. Don't say you believe without manifesting it. So don't just say I believe just like that. And the way you know you don't believe, and I'm looking at myself, are these 4 characteristics. Are you good? Okay. Next one, Kawthar. Oh my goodness, I love this. I absolutely adore it, and you should love it too. Okay, so Kawthar is actually a consolation to the Prophet, telling him, you know what? You will get abundance times abundance times abundance, and you will have a legacy. Okay, Kawthar is positive abundance. You and I want that. Something that nobody can take away. Absolutely nobody can take away. If I can translate Kawthar, it's limitless abundance. You know, like it is there, grows and grows and grows. Okay, so he says, Inna, and I don't know whether you read any of the book, but I tried to put as much as I can in this book. Okay, Inna a'tainakal Kawthar. So whether it's talking to the Prophet or it's talking to me, he's saying, indeed, we gave you Kawthar. Ata is to grant someone. Ata is to give somebody without responsibility. There are two words for abundance in the Quran, takathur and Kawthar. Takathur is what most of us think is abundance. Lots of pound signs, lots of things, lots of whatever. Kawthar is just abundance. Nobody can take it away. Inna a'ataynakal Kawthar. By the way, I hope you know where to put your stickers. Inshallah, we'll come there. Now, Kawthar is translated, if you talk to the Prophet, then remember he was called Batar, Abtar. We'll come to it. Right? You'll come in here. And I'll tell you the history about Kawthar as well. I didn't tell you the history, I will in a minute. But Kawthar also means abundance of descendants. Kawthar means followers of Islam. From 3 people, it went to 1.6 billion, right? The Qur'an, Adhan, Salawat, Ahadith, these are all Kawthar. Before I go further, let me just tell a little bit of history. So, the Prophet has lost 2 sons already, Qasim and Tahir from Sayyidah Khadija. Now suddenly Ibrahim dies. Ibrahim is the son of Maria Qibtiyya. Our Prophet's really, really sad. Okay, so you can imagine a gang of people sitting there, and As bin Wa'il says, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so sad?" And tears are falling down his eyes. And he says, "I lost my son." So he goes to his gang, Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, and I think it was Walid ibn Mughira. So there's his gang, and he tells them, "Batara Muhammad." Muhammad has no progeny now. And they all sing and dance in the streets, and they sing, Batara Muhammad, Batara Muhammad. Just imagine for a minute, you've lost a child, and somebody is celebrating the fact that you've lost a child. That's what happened to the Prophet. And he was really, really down. That's when the surah comes. Inna ataynakal Kawthar. We've given you abundance. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. So what should you do? Pray. Connect. Sila is to connect. Connect to your Rabb wanhar. When Jibreel was asked, a prophet asked him, Muhammad, he said, Jibreel, what is nahar? And Jibreel said, nahar is you're raising your hands at takbiratul ihram in salah. You know, you put your hand here, your thumb here. You put your thumb here because you say, for you, Allah, I'd give my life as well. I'd give my head as well. So one har, although it's sacrifice, it literally means takbiratul ihram. Inna shaniyaka huwal abtar. All these people who are making fun of you, they're the ones who will be abtar. Now this consolation comes from Rabbul Alameen. And the Prophet is quite happy. Are you good? Okay. So for you, when you dovetail this, so we talked about how, I'm just going to go back into it. So there was that word of caution. And here, Surah Al-Kawthar tells you that if you submit to Him, then you will have abundance upon abundance. That's all you need to do. Trust Him. Submit means to trust. Next, Surah Al-Kaafirun. So now these people see, a little bit of history, these people see that everybody is following the Prophet. They don't like it very much. He's following the Prophet. So they say, well, persecution is not helping. We better make a deal with him. So they go up to him and they say, look, let's make a deal. Why don't we have 1 year when we celebrate Holi, sorry, and 1 year celebrate Kushali, no, Ramadan. 1 year we celebrate, I didn't mean that. 1 year we celebrate, we worship our gods, the ones in the Kaaba, and 1 year we worship your God. I mean, how difficult can that be? Compromise, half and half. And they said it twice. And this is the first time in history, today it's easy, but it's the first time that your identity is known as religion. It wasn't like that before. You were either known from the tribe you came from or the country you came from. Nobody knew you by religion. You were either known as Hashemi or you were known as whatever tribe you were. So nobody had any clue about religion. Yet, this is the first time that the Prophet is now declaring that your identity is based on your religion. So if you look at Surah Al-Kaafirun, it's like historical. He goes up to them and he says, because he said, Qul, say, Ya ayyuhal kafirun. Oh, you who cover up the truth. Who covers something up? Person who covers up is the one who knows what the truth is. That's why they're told, Ya ayyuhal kafirun. The very fact that you are agreeing to have 1 year to worship our God means you didn't think much of your God. If you and I were told 1 year Ramadan and 1 year not Ramadan, what would we say? Are you serious? 1 year holy and 1 year Ramadan. Would you agree? No. You wouldn't. Even if they said, we'll have peace, we'll have the whole car park, you won't get blocked. What will you say? No. And that's exactly what they proposed. You will only say that if you don't believe strongly in who you are. So he says, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. And the proposal was made twice. That's why it's twice. لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. Basically saying, I will never submit to that which you submit. I can never understand what you have understood. وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. And you will never understand what I have understood. وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدُ مَا عَبَدتُمْ. That's repetition. وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. But the strongest sentence in here is لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. For you, your religion, and for me, my religion. Now when we come to the dovetailing, and I'll go through that again as well quickly at the end, it's basically saying that you cannot compromise in faith. There's no compromise whatsoever. Okay? To you, your religion, to me, mine. Khalas. Okay. Next one. Nasr. Oh, I love this one too, and I'm sure you love it too. So, Nasr was probably the last surah to be revealed as a whole. Ayat were revealed, but Nasr was revealed as a whole, okay? And it's talking about how you celebrate victory outside and inside, external and internal, okay? So we'll go into Surah Al-Nasr and see how it goes. Normally I'd take a whole day for one surah, but try and do it very quickly. And Nasr is actually saying the moment you submit to Allah, you will get divine help. There is no doubt about that, okay? So he said, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. Ja in Arabic is to go, in Gujarati is to go, in Arabic is to come. So when comes the help of Allah? Even remember, people used to say, Mata Nasrullah. Qur'an says that they used to say, Mata Nasrullah, and you'd say, Inna Nasrullahi Kareeb. The help of Allah is near. So this is the help. How do I know Allah is helping me? So he says, when the help of Allah comes and you have victory, you will see, وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسِ, you will see people, يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ afwaja. You will see people do exactly what they're doing. They will copy you. People don't like copying you. Or, if somebody wears the same clothes as you, go, whatever. It's okay. It's all right. You know how you used to wear hijab before? No. My mother used to wear it like the Bohoras wear it. Have you seen it? Those big things. And then we had these square scarves. And then suddenly you started wearing these wrap-round things 100 times, right? And then you wore it once. And now, I don't know, I see my daughter-in-law, she wears these turbans, right? I'm thinking, what's going on? So it's good to copy. When somebody copies you, it means that what you're doing is right. So that's what he's saying. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. You will see them believing what you are believing. But what should you do when you have victory? فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ. That is how you celebrate victory. Do a tasbih, which means declare his perfection with two things. Hamd and istighfar. Hamd is praise and thanks, and istighfar, innahu kana tawwaba. He will always turn towards you. Now a little bit more about Surah Al-Nasr. And divine help is incomparable, by the way. Nobody else can help you like divinity. Can you tell me where you ask for his help? Every single day, 5-10 times a day, I think you say it. Where do you ask for help? You say isti'ana. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. You ask for help. So he's saying, when you ask for help, this is what you should be doing. You should be going back to Surah Al-Nasr and seeing what it's doing. Now Surah Al-Nasr, whenever you go into sajda, think of Surah Al-Nasr. What do you say in sajda? Subhan Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdi. Subhan and Hamd. And then you come back from sajda, what you say? Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. And you go into sajda, what you say? Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. So what is this? Subhan, Hamd and Istighfar. You're doing exactly what Surah Al-Nasr said when you go into sajda, sit up and go into sajda. But very few people think of Surah Al-Nasr when they go into sajda. That is the help of Allah, okay? So if I go back to your dovetailing, then Surah Al-Nasr is that he will help you and others in essence as long as you declare his perfection. In other words, you go into sajda through praise and forgiveness. So that sajda is a means of getting his help. Okay, we'll do a little bit more later. Wow, Surah Al-Lahab. So Surah Al-Lahab, Abu Lahab, really loved the Prophet. When Abdullah gave birth to the Prophet Muhammad, he actually freed a slave. He was so happy that his son, his brother, had a son, right? So he liked the Prophet a lot. That's Abu Lahab, okay? The reason why he was called Abu Lahab was because he was very handsome, and he wasn't just fair Arab. He had this lovely tan to him, and people loved that tan. Him and his wife Jamila were known as the power couple, the posh and becks of Stanmore, right? You got it? Right, so these power couple there. So that's Lahab. Why didn't he like the Prophet? He became a major enemy of the Prophet. He's his uncle. He's the one who was so happy. Because when he saw the Prophet put his head on the ground, he said, why, you are a human being? Human beings don't put their head on the ground. They don't humiliate themselves. They look up. That's how he felt. So he didn't like the Prophet putting his head on the ground. The other thing he didn't like was when the Prophet was told, call your near ones, and he told them about La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and the accountability. He said, what's wrong with you? That's not how he was. So he was a traditional person. He had a very big standing amongst the Arabs, but he had a very sharp tongue as well. Can you imagine a powered couple with a sharp tongue? His wife was in charge of the Darun Nadwa, so where people got together for meetings about if you can call it the council room. She was head of the council, okay? So very powerful couple. So this couple was a bit funky. This is the one who lived next door to the Prophet, who said, Batara Muhammad. This was the one that when revelation stopped, they said, has your God forgotten you? What's wrong with you? Okay? So Allah says, and then what he did was, he said, when you put your head on the ground, I want to kill you. So he used to raise his hands with a stone, and the stone would sort of freeze in his hands. Okay? But he didn't understand it. So Allah says, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Tab is raising your hands to be able to harm someone. So Allah says his hands will be harmed. Ma aghna anhu maluhu wa ma kasab. So when he was told you will go to Jahannam, he said, I will buy Jahannam. I've got so much money. My goodness, I will buy all of them. I will bribe all the angels over there. So Allah is saying his mal, Kasab is also known as children. Whatever he has will be of no avail. Sayasla naran dhata lahab. He will be thrown into the flames that he created. Allah is beautiful. He uses his name, Abu Lahab, his tan to get back to him. Lahab is also flames. Okay. وَامْرَأَتُهُ حَمَّالَةَ الْحَطَبِ. His wife used to wear this beautiful red necklace. That's why you've got a red necklace there. And she said, I will sell this to destroy Muhammad, right? But Allah says, وَامْرَأَتُهُ حَمَّالَةَ الْحَطَبِ. His wife will carry firewood. At that time, slaves used to carry firewood. And you couldn't compare the elite to the slaves. You just couldn't compare them. But Allah is saying that's what she's going to be like. A, because she carried firewood. B, because she gossiped a lot. She talked a lot about the Prophet. And she said really bad things about him. فِي جِيدِهَا حَبْلٌ مِّن مَّسَدٍ. This rope, this necklace will drag her into the fire. Are you good? Yes? No? Maybe? Perhaps? Okay. So as far as Surah Al-Lahab goes, you will only realize true loss when you think that you're independent of divinity. Because they thought they were independent of divinity. We will buy people. We will buy Jahannam. Now, it ends with a rope. So this dovetails onto the next surah. The only rope of success is Allah. And this surah, Imam Ali says, needs no explanation. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Allah is unique. He's the one on whom everybody depends on. There's no parents, no children, because there's no favoritism, and there is no one like him. People used to come to the Prophet and say, who is this God that you are so besotted with? Who is he? And this was the answer. Can you imagine if somebody came in the mosque with a massive rock, a really big ring, one of these young kids, right? And you said, oh my goodness. And she looked at the ring and she like dreamy. Who is this lucky guy? She wouldn't tell you. Who is it that you're so besotted with that all you can look at is your ring? You know how they go like this all the time. Have you seen them? They go like this all the time. They look at it. Oh, God, give me a break. Okay, that's what they do. Okay? All right. You didn't do that? I did. Okay. So even though I didn't have a rock, okay? It was this thing that cost 250 shillings. Doesn't matter. I still look at it, okay? So whatever the case, You look at it and you say, who did it? And they don't say anything. And the next week you see them and you say, oh God, please tell me. That's what the Quraysh did. And then this surah came. Qul huwallahu. That's beautiful. Ahad. Allahu samad, lam yalid, wa lam yulad, wa lam You ever have problems? This surah. 3 times, it's like finishing the whole Qur'an. Forget everything else. And the magical word, the awesome word here is samad. Ya samad. You know, I'd tell you the story about the person who was looking at the statue and going, Ya Sanam, Ya Sanam, Ya Sanam. And then Bulmati said, Ya Samad. And Musa said, Kuda, he wasn't calling you, because he said, Labbaik Ya Abdi. He said, even if somebody calls me by mistake, Ya Samad, I will do that. Teach it to your children. Okay, next one. Now the next 2, Falaq and Nas, are literally, say you've built your garden. You're really good. You've done it. But now these 2 surahs are, you can't just say, I've done my garden. You need somebody to weed it. So the 5 weeds, the 5 shars. The first shar, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, is the Lord of the one who splits open. We can talk a lot. Have you seen a chicken come out of an egg? Right? Who looked after that chicken in that egg? And then when it burst open, life came up. Who was it? That's Rabbul Falaq. A mother who's pregnant. Can you imagine that baby in your tummy? How a baby breathe and eat and think, and then suddenly this baby comes out and it's a screaming little thing, a beautiful little thing, okay, whatever it is, okay. That child really come out. That's Rabbul Falaq. So first shar, min sharri ma khalaq. From the evil, from the shar, the potential shar. When a snake bites you, that's why you've got a snake there, the snake doesn't think it's being evil. It doesn't say, I am going to be evil to this person. That's its nature. When a bee stings, the bee doesn't say, I'm being evil. That's its nature. So you want protection from the nature of something that's not being evil. وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ. And the shar of the dark night, which is ignorance. And the shar of nafathati fil uqad, on those who blow on knots, which could be black magic, but it also could be relationship. So for example, I have a really good friend sitting at the back there, whose name is Shamim, right up there, okay? She's born on the same day as I am, maybe a few years apart, but we started all sorts of things together. Now say I get on very well with her, and you went with her and you said, Shamim, are you good friends with Umi? And she said, yes. And you said, but... That's all you had to say. You don't have to say anything, but you say, but be careful. So what's she going to do? Oh, well, she knows me well enough not to do that, I hope. But it will put in her a doubt. That is blowing onto knots. She doesn't have to say a word. She just had to say but. That's it. Okay. All right. وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. The most awful things. Envy is okay because it makes you work harder. Jealousy, oh my goodness. You don't want it because it's too much hard work. And you don't want the other person to have it as well. So you try and destroy them. And in a hadith, the 5th Imam likens jealousy. He likens jealousy to nits. Do you know what nits are? At the moment I say them, you scratch, don't you? That's nits. Nits die of overeating your dead skin. Right? So the 5th Imam says that there was a tribe that was so jealous they actually destroyed a town, and Allah destroys them. And when He destroys them, He creates nits as lessons for human beings that's what jealousy does. Okay, so jealousy, people who are jealous die of overeating, and you want to be safe from them. Now those are the 4 external shars. The internal shar, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas, I'm not going to go into the meaning. Malikin nas, ilahin nas, I'm going over my time. Min sharril waswasil khannas. The internal evil is that, you know, that thing that eats you inside. Waswas, yeah. It's a slinking shaitan. Puts a thought and then goes away. Like that person who went to my friend Shamim and said, but. So all night she will think, why did that person say but? What was it? Has she said something about me? Is there something wrong? So that stuff that goes around in your head is waswas. You good? So we have 5 shars. 1, potential evil. 2, come on, quick, so that I'll get told off. You got to go to Falaq and have a look. From the ignorance, the dark. 3rd one, those who blow on relationships, right? 4th one, jealousy. So that's a 4. And then the 5th one is the internal. And the internal one is probably the worst one because it creates stories in the mind, right? So there's 5. Now we're going to go into the dovetailing. And Fatima has done this beautiful thing. It's just amazing. So let's go 105. So 105 is this heart that has negative thoughts. Do you remember feel? Feel. The negative thoughts, can you see how the heart breaks with negative thoughts? And what cured it and made it whole? Asma'ul Husna. I will send you this, don't worry. Okay? So, have you got 105 now? Now it dovetails into 106 that once your heart is whole, the Rabb will provide you and He will look after you. Razzaq and Muhaymin. Are you good? Now it dovetails it on the other one, provided, word of caution, that you're not stingy. You can't be stingy. You have to share. So basically, D equals S2. Okay, you got to tell me what I'm saying when I'm saying D equals S2. What is S2? All right, think about it. We come to it. Next one is 108. Once you start sharing, you think you're going to lose, because you think if I give, I won't get any more. He's saying if you give, you will get abundance. Can you see 108? Yeah? You will get abundance. But when you get abundance, just remember, no compromise. None whatsoever. Lakum dinukum waliya din. And once you do that, you will get Allah's help. And when you get Allah's help, don't become so arrogant that you're independent and say, oh, this is mine now, I did it myself. Don't become like Abu Lahab. Because his wife, and also don't become a supporter of somebody like Abu Lahab, because you will be choked by your own rope. The only rope you will hold on to is the rope of one, which is of divinity. And then, can you see the 5 rocks and the 5 weeds in that garden? If you don't take out the weeds and the rocks, the garden is not going to work. And what was the 5 rocks? Again, what was the 5 weeds? I'm waiting for you to tell me. 5 weeds, please. 1, potential evil. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then the 5th one was your internal waswas. Are you good with that? We'll send you this slide, and hopefully I'm going to let you go home, and I'm going to let you sort of think about why D is equal to S2. What is D first? You could call it B. All right, I'll make it B, make it easier for you. B is equal to S2. We talked about people who didn't believe, okay? Put it on as belief. Belief is equal to S2. B is equal to S2. What was one S? Salah, connection to Allah. And the second S was sharing. Connection to Allah, which is Salah, and the second S was sharing. So B equals S2, everything else is out of the window. Are you good? I will send you or I'll put it on the group. We have a Thursday group, I think. I'll put it on there, and we'll also put you the dovetailing. Are you good with that? Yes? Have you got how it dovetails? Now all 104 are like that. Happy? Good? Right, Surah Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Sadaqallahu al-azim. Did you manage to stick your stickers? Good.